What's up guys, this is Zach with Attack Gaming in a first impressions video for Archlord 2, a PvP focused MMORPG published and developed by Webzen. What do you get when you release a sequel to one of the most universally panned and reviled MMORPGs currently available in the Western Hemisphere? Well, you get Archlord 2, the game that positively no one really ever asked for. In part, I'm just kidding. Despite the original being universally panned when it was originally released as a pay-to-play title published by Codemasters, the game was surprisingly hard to kill, being one of the first pay-to-play MMOs to go through a free-to-play conversion and to also change publishers, switching from Codemasters to Webzen in 2009. Originally released in 2006, Archlord finally shut down in North America in January of 2014. Despite all odds, the game survived a lot longer than some of the supposed saviors of the genre like Star Wars Galaxies or Warhammer Online. The game had amassed a dedicated following, and those who played it and played it frequently loved it. And that's really all you can ever ask for in a game, right? Well, Archlord 2 attempts to right many of the wrongs beset by the original Archlord, a game that was critically reviled for its dependency on repetitive mob grinding. Archlord 2 comes fully packed with all the typical MMO conventions, 2-faction PvP, quest-based progression, and a dungeon finder. The problem really is that MMORPGs are constantly evolving. Now more than ever, it is difficult for a new MMO to break into the already crowded field unless it does something unique and does it really well. Our definition of generic has changed a lot since 2006, and Archlord 2, which is a perfectly acceptable game in its own right, feels exactly like a stereotypical no-frills MMORPG that we've seen time and time again. You start out learning a bit about the game world and the conflict within. Basically, it's two factions fighting amongst one another to determine who becomes the Archlord. Character creation, while disappointing in terms of the number of races available, there is only one race per faction, humans or orcs. Still, there's quite a bit of character customization available, especially compared to the original game. You can customize facial features, hairstyles, hair color, height, and weight. There are no classes in the game. Instead, there are weapon types which represent various character archetypes like healing, tanking, and DPS. While it might sound disappointing to have only 4 weapon types to choose from, your weapon level increases independently of your character level. You can mix and match various weapon types, and the game even allows you to swap weapons mid-fight. This can make for quite a bit of interesting character builds. Always wanted to build a heavy armored 2-hand warrior that can kite mobs with a bow and arrow? This game lets you do it. Also, PvP is a huge part of Archlord 2, as you might expect. Outside of your standard duel, there are 3 main PvP game modes: Skirmish, Battleground, and Contested Area. Skirmish and Battlegrounds are both meant for higher level players. Skirmish is your typical 5v5 team deathmatch. Battlegrounds consist of massive 200 versus 200 player battles. Contested areas are similar to Battlegrounds in a game like Dark Age of Camelot or Warhammer Online. They're instant zones with PvE and PvP content where players of opposing factions can meet up and do battle, giving low-level players a taste of in-game PvP. Dungeons unlock at level 10, and while they appear to be plentiful, at least the one I tried was relatively uninspired. Dungeon parties seem to consist of 3 players, at least at the low level. You'll have 1 DPS, 1 healer, and 1 tank. Although, the party I joined only had 1 other player, but we really didn't have any trouble at all getting through the dungeon. The regular mobs died in about 3 or 4 hits, and the boss mobs were only more difficult in proportion to the amount of hit points they had. Graphically, the game is somewhat subpar. When zoomed out, the environments look impressive, but close up the game is full of muddy textures and massive amounts of blur, lighting filters, and lens flare that just gets annoying and starts to hurt my eyes after a while. This doesn't help matters, just the game also runs fairly choppy. While the mediocre frame rate doesn't get in the way of playability, it makes the game feel stiff and clunky when it otherwise wouldn't. Still, here's a game that, well, when you judge it on its own merits, is a pretty solid experience, but having said that, it's a game that would have been awesome if it released around the same time as the original Archlord. In 2014, it just doesn't do enough on its own merits to really justify playing something like this over more popular titles out there. And if the population of the closed beta was any indication, I'm not alone in my thoughts. Still, I feel like Archlord 2 has a lot to offer the player that's not quite tired of the traditional MMO, and hopefully it will grow to see a sizable dedicated player base once it moves beyond closed beta. Check out the game's official website at archlord2.webzen.com to learn more about it, and if you like this video, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel for more first impressions, gaming news, giveaways, and other general randomness.